the first renderings of what we're doing. So I want to wish everybody a big hello and Merry Christmas and welcome to Mar-a-Lago for this exciting announcement of the new Golden Fleet. We're calling it the Golden Fleet that we're building for the United States Navy. As you know, we're desperately in need of ships. Our ships are, some of them have gotten old and tired and obsolete, and we're going to go the exact opposite direction. We're delighted to be joined by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who's doing a fantastic job, and Secretary of the Navy John Phelan. Marco Rubio is here, who gave a great few words toward the end of last week. He spoke for a couple of hours on what a good job we're doing, which is true. As Commander-in-Chief, it's my great honor to announce that I have approved a plan for the Navy to begin the construction of two brand new, very large, the largest we've ever built, battleships. You know, you used to build the Iowa, the Missouri, the Wisconsin, the Alabama, many others. We had big battleships. These are bigger, but they will have 100 times the, they'll be 100 times the force, the power, and there's never been anything like these ships. These have been under design consideration for a long time, and it started with me in my first term, because I said, why aren't we doing battleships like we used to? And these are the best in the world. They'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any battleship ever built. So if you look at the Iowa, the Missouri, Wisconsin, Alabama, and others, but they were similar in size, some a little bit bigger than the others, but if you take the biggest one, it's 100 times more powerful. They're longer by a little bit, but and they're bigger ships, but they hold much more. They use the word lethality. Battleships are the largest, sturdiest, and most heavily armed vessel built specifically for naval combat. While America has built many new warships over the years, they've tended to be smaller and much smaller, and not conducive to where we are and where we're going, and peace through strength. But including, we've been building aircraft carriers. We're going to be upping that also. We're going to be going to a superior aircraft. We have the Ford class. We're going to be upping that to a different class of aircraft carrier. And we haven't built a battleship since 1994. These cutting-edge vessels will be some of the most lethal surface warfare ships. They will be actually the most ever built other than our submarines. We have submarines which will have, in many ways, even more lethality, and we have many of them under construction. Each one of these will be the largest battleship in the history of our country, the largest battleship in the history of the world ever built. And again, it's 100 times more powerful than the previous Iowa class, it's called. Those are the big ones that you'd see on a show. Victory at Sea. I don't know if anyone's seen Victory at Sea, but it was a classic. They'll help maintain American military supremacy, revive the American shipbuilding industry, and inspire fear in America's enemies all over the world. We want respect. We're going to have it. We already have it. We're more respected now than we ever were. A year and a half ago, they laughed at us. Now they respect us again at levels that they've never respected us. We envision that these two ships, we're talking about 10, but we're going to start with 2, and we're going to quickly morph into 10. And ultimately, we think it's going to be anywhere from 20 to 25 of these. But we're starting with the first 2 immediately, and we're going to then be very quickly involved with, I think, we're going to do another 8, and then we're going to ultimately and pretty quickly have a total of about 20 to 25. We'll make that determination. We envision that these ships will be the first of a whole new class of battleships to be produced in the years to come. From Theodore Roosevelt, the Great White Fleet, you remember that, the Great White Fleet, to the legendary USS Missouri, whose massive guns helped win World War II. America's battleships have always been unmistakable symbols of national power. We stopped making them for whatever reason, I don't know. And I want to congratulate John Thalen, who is your secretary of the Navy. He came to me the first day we met. He talked about battleships, and I said, "You're absolutely on the right track." He said, "Why are we doing other things? We have missiles, which are much more expensive." By the way, these battleships have tremendous numbers of missiles, but they also have guns. And in many ways, guns can do the trick just as well as missiles at a tiny fraction of the cost. Once completed, these new 30 to 40,000 ton plus vessels will be the flagships of the American naval fleet, and there has never been anything built like them. And I just want to, be very clear that we're building them here. We're working with others, but we're building them here. We have great Navy yards. We'll be negotiating with some of the companies that are running those yards, taking over the yards. We used to build a ship a day during World War II. Now we don't do ships very much anymore. We do military ships. We do submarines. By the way, we're 15 to 20 years advanced in our submarines over anybody else. That was one of the things that I did in my first term. We make the best submarines by far in the world. We're at least 15 years advanced ahead of anybody else in submarine development. Most powerful, that's right, the most powerful weapon anywhere in the world, undetectable. So the battleships are going to be armed just in terms of guns and missiles at the highest level. They'll also have hypersonic weapons, many hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered lasers that you've been starting to read about. We have lasers where you aim the laser at a target, it just wipes it out. We're going to have, there'll be the most sophisticated lasers in the world, and the most sophisticated laser in the world will be on the battleships that we're building. They'll also carry the nuclear arms, sea-launched cruise missiles currently under development, which will be instituted pretty quickly, but they're under development, and they've proven to be extremely lethal. The U.S. Navy will lead the design of these ships along with me, because I'm a very aesthetic person, alongside our partners in American industry, and we're going to have Pete Hegseth and Marco and a lot of very talented people involved, but a lot of it's already been done. We've been doing this for months. The construction will create thousands of American jobs. We're going to have the jobs be created. I mean, already we have factories being built unrelated to this, although AI will be a big factor when it comes to these ships. They'll be very AI controlled. Today's announcement is yet another step in our mission to make the United States Navy stronger than ever before. Again, when you talk about 100 times the power of these massive ships that we had years ago, it's pretty amazing. And next week, I'm going to meet with the defense prime contractors. I'm going to meet with them here, Florida. And we're going to be talking about production schedules because they're too slow. We have many countries, allies, that are wanting to buy. We make the greatest equipment in the world, by far. Nobody's even close, but they don't produce them fast enough. So we're going to be meeting with them to talk about the production schedules. We're going to have strong production schedules. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is to build new plants. Even with the F-35, we have many people who want the F-35 fighter jet, and it takes too long to deliver them to allies or to ourselves. It takes too long. The only way they're going to be able to deliver them is if they build new plants. They don't want to build new plants because that's expensive. So we're going to be discussing production schedules. We're going to be discussing CapEx spending. We'll be discussing the pay to executives where they're making $45 and $50 million a year and not being able to build quickly. They're going to make that kind of money. They have to build quickly. Again, we make the best equipment in the world, but they don't make them fast enough. And we're going to be also discussing dividends. We want the dividends to go into the creation of production facilities. So we'll be talking about all CapEx, dividends, and the pay. We're also going to be talking about buybacks. They spend so much money on buyback. They want to buy back their stock. I don't want them to buy back their stock. I want them to put the money in plant and equipment so they can build these planes fast, rapidly, like immediately. I mean, I have sold more planes than any president by far, times probably 20. So every time I go someplace, I sell 100 planes. That includes commercial planes, Boeings, et cetera, but it also includes fighter jets. And I'm always having to say 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, helicopters, Apache helicopters, many years. India bought them. They want to get them. They don't want to wait a long time. So we don't want to have executives making $50 million a year, issuing big dividends to everybody, and also doing buybacks. And then they say, well, we don't have the money to build the plant. They got to build plants. Plants to make F-35s, plants to make helicopters, plants to make the F-47 new jet. And that's it. And that's what I'm going to be talking to them about. They're going to start spending money on building airplanes and ships and the things that we need, not in 10 years and 15 years. We need them now. And we're strong about it. Last week, the Navy announced a brand new class of frigate, and they're going to be working with the South Korean company. Hanwha, a good company, recently agreed to invest $5 billion in Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. We're opening up the Philadelphia Shipyard, once a great yard. Now it was a long time ago decommissioned, but now it's reopening. Working with the Navy and working with private companies. The record-setting defense bill I signed last week authorized $26 billion to build new ships, including destroyers and various others. We already have a lot of submarines, as you know, under construction. We're building a lot of submarines. I tell you, to be exact, we have right now 15 submarines under construction or ready to start. And we have, again, the greatest submarine in the world with our technology, like they talk about chips. Well, I would say submarines are a bigger deal than chips. We're at least 15 years ahead of any other competitor. China, Russia, nobody can come close. We're also building right now 3 large aircraft carriers in addition to the ones we have. And we have, actually, interestingly, we have a lot of submarines. How many submarines do we have now altogether, approximately? Huh? What?
Over 30.
We have over 30. But these are the super-duper subs, and there's nothing like them. So we're going to be doing from 12 to 15 brand-new submarines. We have a couple of other things going on. We'll be building other elements of Navy. We'll be fixing up headquarters. We'll be fixing up places for our great sailors to live. And we're going to be working very hard with companies, but we're also going to be penalizing companies that aren't doing a good job. For instance, when they built the Ford, Gerald Ford, the cost overruns were ridiculous. That was done in Norfolk, Virginia. We're going to be talking about that with that company. The cost overruns were out of control. In World War II, the United States built upwards of 4 ships per day. Can you believe it? 4 ships a day, on average. And now there weren't all big warships, but there were ships, freighters, tankers. And it's a tragedy that we allowed this incredible capability to just go astray. We don't do that much anymore. We do build our warships, but that's about it. But that's a lot. We're going to restore America as a major shipbuilding power. We're going to ensure the USA is the most powerful fleet anywhere in the world, and long into the future, with battleships helping lead the way, and the submarines that, again, nobody competes with us on submarines. So I just want to thank everybody, and I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words, followed by the Secretary, but if you would, Secretary of the Navy. But Pete's doing a fantastic job. By the way, we have drugs are down 96.2% coming into the United States. 92.6 by sea. And soon we'll be starting the same program on land. Land is much easier. But every one of those boats that we knocked out saved 25,000 lives. So we save 25,000 lives every time we knock out one of those boats with the drugs pouring in, and you just have to see it. I mean, people say, "Oh, gee, do you think it was really drugs?" Well, just take a look. Bags all over the place. That's not fishing equipment. There's no fishing rods on those boats. They move fast. When you see a boat with 4 engines or 5 engines on, going 40, 50 miles an hour, well, they get hit. We save 25,000 lives every single time we knock out a boat, and it's over 96% stopped by sea. We're trying to figure out who the other 4% are, frankly. And we're going to have the same success, but even quicker, because it's much easier on land. If they want to come by land, they're going to end up having a big problem. They're going to get blown to pieces, because we don't want our people poisoned. 300,000 people died, probably last year, 300,000. A lot of people say it was 200. Somebody said last night, it was only 175,000 people. That's like 3 stadiums, big football stadiums filled up with people died. But I think the real number is 300,000. We're not going to have that anymore. So we're doing a great job, and we enjoy doing it. Our border is secure. Our country is strong. Trillions of dollars is coming into our country from other countries and companies. They're building factories and plants, including auto plants, all over the United States of America. Without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing anything, although they were very happy with the November 5th election. But it's only because they want to avoid paying tariffs that they're all coming in. And again, the biggest number was $3 trillion in history. That was China many years ago. Now it's $18 trillion, and that's just in 10 months. We think we could hit $20 trillion. That's investment in the United States, including plant and equipment. So thank you very much, and I'll ask Pete to say a few words, and then John. And if you have any questions, we'll take them. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, you're exactly right. There are no fishing poles, no fishermen, and no fishing boats. Just drug dealers and narco-terrorists. And with every strike, we're saving American lives. No other president was willing to do real deterrence. That's exactly what's happening. It's an honor to be here, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, Secretary Rubio, to talk about what peace through strength really looks like. You can talk about it, or you can invest in it, and you can build it. And that's exactly what President Trump is doing. At the Department of War, we're restoring the warrior ethos. In fact, the President mentioned the NDAA. We put into law merit-based. We put into law getting rid of DEI and political correctness. That's now part of how our military operates. And you've seen it in record recruiting in the spirit at the Department of War. We're rebuilding the military. President Trump did it once. He's doing again with historic investments today in shipbuilding. And we're reestablishing deterrence, whether that's at the border, whether it's through Golden Dome, what happened with Midnight Hammer and what Iran found out, those drug boats, and of course the Houthis opening up the shipping lanes. American strength is back on the world stage. And the announcement of the Golden Fleet, anchored by new battleships, the biggest and most lethal ever, accomplishes all 3 of those things and marks a generational commitment to American sea power. Across the entire department, we are developing new operational concepts, deploying cutting-edge technologies, and making major investments, including in our Navy. This is happening in all domains, including space, as the President has talked about before anyone else. So it's the highest of domains and the lowest of domains under sea, and especially today in sea power, that always has to be decisive, has been in the history of America, and will continue to be under the leadership of President Trump. We will make sure that anything that flows from our country and with our allies flows freely and uncontested. New and better ships will provide that deterrent today and for generations to come. This new class, these new investments, will be the types of things that for decades, for centuries, the American people will look back and thank President Trump for having the vision and the willingness to invest right now in capabilities we need today, tomorrow, and long into the future. So, Mr. President, thank you for this investment, and I'll hand it over now to the Navy Secretary.
Mr. President, Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Rubio, thank you for being here on a very consequential day. From my very first conversation with President Trump about serving as a Secretary of the Navy, he's talked about the great Iowa-class battleship and why America doesn't build ships anymore with that kind of offensive firepower that takes the fight to the enemy. During my time in the job, I've talked extensively with our combatant commanders, like Admiral Paparo and Admiral Cooper, and our CNO, Admiral Cottle. And what I've learned is that not only is the President's idea a good one, it's something that Navy desperately needs and now has a formal requirement for. The future Trump-class battleship, the USS Defiant, will be the largest, deadliest, and most versatile and best-looking warship anywhere on the world's oceans. I want to thank the President for his vision to make this game-changing capability for the United States Navy. The Iowa was designed to go on the attack with the biggest guns, and that's exactly what will define the Trump-class battleships: offensive firepower from the biggest guns of our era. This ship isn't just to swat the arrows. It is going to reach out and kill the archers. And for the first time in generations, we'll have a new leg in America's nuclear deterrence, because the Trump-class battleship will carry the nuclear-armed, sea-launched cruise missile. Striking dominance isn't all that the Trump-class battleship brings to the fight at sea. It has the size and capacity to serve as a flagship for our fleet commanders so that they can command and control naval forces far out to sea. As shown in the series, and the President mentioned it, Victory at Sea, Admirals Bull Halsey and Raymond Spruance commanded the war in the Pacific from their battleship flagships during World War II. Now this new battleship will command everything from warships to drones and everything in between. We're going to make battle groups great again. And this is just one piece of the President's Golden Fleet that we're going to build with the investments he talked about. A new frigate, the right frigate, the one our warfighters have told us they need. More amphibious power for our Marines with new capabilities like the medium landing ship. As part of the Navy's high-low mix, we're moving out aggressively on unmanned vessels with funding from the President's One Big Beautiful Bill to bring options to the fight and pull new, non-traditional defense partners into the American shipbuilding ecosystem. And we're making a generational investment in support ships. Logistics wins wars, and that kind of shipbuilding is the spark that will ignite the industrial base and help power the commercial shipbuilding that the President has called for. Under your leadership, Mr. President, we will have more tonnage and firepower under construction than ever before in our history. Building the President's Golden Fleet means jobs across the United States now. There'll be work for shipyards everywhere, from Philadelphia to San Diego, from Maine to Mississippi, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast, and for manufacturers that will build components for this battleship in every state. The President has been clear. We must bring back our American maritime industrial might. And he has told me many times that as Secretary of the Navy, it is my job to equip our sailors to win the fight at sea with the finest ships in our history. To conclude, the USS Defiant battleship will inspire awe and reverence for the American flag whenever it pulls into a foreign port. It will be a source of pride for every American when it brings home our brave sailors who will sail defiant, raise their fists, and say, "We are peace through strength." And our adversaries will know when the Trump-class USS Defiant appears on the horizon, American victory at sea is inevitable. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, when a conflict arises, you are going to ask not one, but two questions. Where are the carriers, and where are the battleships? Thank you.
I just want to mention that John Phelan is one of the most successful businessmen in the country, in our country. It's been a tremendous success, and he wanted to do this, and for nothing. He's taken probably the largest salary cut in history, but he wanted to do it. He wants to rebuild our Navy, and you needed that kind of a brain to do it properly. So I just wanted to give you a little information on him, which is probably enough. But one of the most successful men in the country, and he's that because he understands it, and he understands finance in addition to what we're talking about. Somebody who's doing a fantastic job is Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. And Marco, maybe say a few words, and then we'll answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I don't have much to add. This is a phenomenal presentation. Thank you, Mr. President. This is American industrial power returning. This is the ability, once again, to rebuild, to have industry in the United States. This is generational in the change, not just in terms of applying American war power, increasing our ability to protect the seas. The U.S. Navy is the single biggest source of peace in the world of all of our forces because it gives us a global footprint. But it rebuilds American industrial capacity. The ability to make things again in our country has been critical to what the President's agenda has been all about, and this is a tangible reminder of it. And I know the country's grateful for it, and generations of Americans will be grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Marco. By the way, I think I'd just like to point out that these ships are made of steel as opposed to aluminum. It's a big difference, as you know. Battleships, the great battleships, had 6- and 7-inch steel hulls, and these are going to be likewise made out of very powerful steel. Our steel industry is coming back very strongly, by the way. It's coming back at record numbers, and we're going to be using them for the steel, but as opposed to an aluminum side, which, in all fairness, is not the same. So, John, we're going with all steel, I understand. And that's going to be something that people are surprised. More expensive, but not even comparable in terms of the importance and the strength. Yeah, please.
What's your timetable for these